everybody. It is Jenny Kokert with Flourish and Flourish Writers. It's a joy to be here with you this Saturday morning. Most likely it's Saturday morning for many of you, but maybe some of you are joining us from the UK or from other parts, maybe even Australia, and it might be evening, I would assume, or late afternoon. So welcome wherever you're at. I see a lot of you already. Holland. So I'm assuming it's evening in Holland. And Becky from Miami, Florida. That is where I grew up. And Michelle from Ohio. That's where I'm just outside of Ohio now. So good morning, ladies. I am Jenny Kokert, as I mentioned, and I am one half of Flourish and Flourish Writers. And it is our passion, our mission. We get excited about really equipping and encouraging others to basically dream, write, and publish whatever it is that God has called them to whatever it is that is on your heart that you're good at or you're passionate at. Really, that's what our goal here at Flourish Writers is. And that's why we created this workshop today on publishing, because I know that there are so many questions around self-publishing, and there's a lot of misconceptions around self-publishing. So I hope that this is incredibly beneficial to you today. But if I can get a quick confirmation that you can see and hear me okay, that would be fantastic. So let me know if you can see and hear me. And then I'll go ahead and talk about some troubleshooting. So there's always the chance that maybe you can't see or hear me on your end. And so what you want to do if you're having just visual problems or audio problems, the first thing is there's a button up on top that says reconnect. That's the first thing you want to do. If that doesn't solve the problem, you might want to change browsers or change devices. Sometimes mobile won't work great. It all depends on your internet plan and where you're at and all that jazz with internet. Normally a desktop computer, Chrome browser works great as long as you don't live, in a rural part of town with little internet. It is a lot of bandwidth to stream these live. But there is going to be a replay. So if it just doesn't work for you or whatnot, there will be a replay that we will be emailing, and you can definitely watch that. But it looks like a lot of you can see and hear, and I'm coming in nice and strong for everyone. That's fantastic. All right, so what are we going to do over these next 60 minutes? Well, first, we have a little bit of a presentation that I'm going to walk through, and it's kind of divided into a few parts. First, we're going to share just our own personal journey to self-publishing. We have published both in a digital format and in a print format about 10 books in only about 2 years. And I want to tell you, because the reason I want to share our story is that when we published book number 1, okay, we knew nothing about self-publishing, like a big fat zero. And so I think our story is really encouraging, and it's really going to help see that this is doable. It is possible, right? We're going to talk about some of the pros and cons of self-publishing, and that's where some of the myths are going to come into play. I'm going to show you briefly an overview of the self-publishing process. Like, what are some of the different steps involved? And then most importantly, I'm going to leave time for questions. Lots and lots and lots of questions. But I ask you a favor. If you can save your questions until our kind of official Q&A time, that would be helpful, because it's just me. I don't have anyone behind the scenes helping me today. And so I won't be able to see, while I'm talking and doing everything else, I won't be able to see your questions. So if a question comes to your mind, just write it down. And then when I kind of open up Q&A time, be sure to put that in the chat. Also, because there are a lot of you here, we've got about 80 people so far, and I'm sure a few more are going to continue to jump in. If I don't get to your question, feel free to write it in the chat again. So I'm going to try to move through questions as quickly as possible. But if I miss it by any chance, just because others are writing their questions, feel free to continue to type that in so that I get to your question. And that's what I wanted. That is the main goal of our time this morning, is really answering questions. I'm going to present some information, but I want to answer questions. Again, because I think there's just so many questions that people have with regards to self-publishing. And I want to bring you some clarity. I want to bring you some answers. I may not know, okay, just disclaimer, I may not have an answer for every single question. Most likely 95% of them I will, but I may have to say, you know, I'm not quite sure. But if I'm not sure, I can probably point you in the right direction. So just know that it's possible I don't know the answer to something. And, you know, we teach and we share this information from our own personal experience. And we're big researchers, Mindy and I as well. So we're always researching the world of self-publishing and even answering, looking up information that we know that people questions that come up often. So I'm hoping that I'm able to answer everybody's questions and any confusion there is around it. So with that said, why don't we get started? All right, who is ready to get started? I'm gonna take some sips of my hot tea because I'm gonna be talking a lot over the next hour. Need something warm for our throats, for my throat. And I hope that you have something maybe warm as well. But I will say, this is the presentation that you want a notebook or a pen. Because I'm going to be presenting some information that you're going to want to take some notes on, but also even during the Q&A time, there might be a question that someone asked that you want to write some information down. I will also, you're going to see a lot of resources mentioned, okay? I do not have exact like websites, but this is where Google is your best friend. So make sure, I'm going to give everybody 30 seconds if you have not grabbed a piece of paper, a notebook, a pen, a pencil, a feather pen, whatever it is, because this is the type of presentation that you absolutely want to write some notes and jot down some information. So consider yourself warned. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. Okay, great. So you should see my slide presentation. I'll go back to the chat. And all right, so here we are at how to self-publish your book. And I already mentioned this, but we're going to talk about our self-publishing journey, the pros and cons to self-publishing, how to determine, oh, I skipped this one, how to determine your self-publishing goals. This is huge. And so I have 3 uber important questions that you need to ask yourselves. And I think sometimes within self-publishing, there's a lot of confusion because we're kind of putting the cart before the horse. And so these questions are really going to help you figure out what truly is your goal when it comes to publishing. And because maybe you're on the fence, actually, between traditional publishing and self-publishing. And that's okay. You're welcome here as well. We're going to talk about the self-publishing process. And like I said, lastly, I'm going to make sure that your questions are answered. All right, so our journey to self-publishing. You may have seen this picture before, but we took this picture earlier this year, it was in January of this year. Since then, we have published, how many more? I think 3 more books, 3 more print books. But I want to show you this picture, but I want to make it clear that we didn't start here. See, this is the product of 2+ really 3 years of work. And so even though that's kind of pretty impressive, right, that we've published all these books and we adore the books that we have self-published, it's been very successful for us, we didn't start here. We actually started here with digital publishing. So what is digital publishing? That's really just producing a PDF, right? It's producing something digitally. It's not in print. And this process of publishing something in print first, this process of publishing something in a digital format first helped us tremendously get to the point of then publishing something in print. We understood it's still publishing, right? So we started with digital publishing, and these are some of our covers for some of the different products that we came up with. If you know anything about Flourish, you know that that is basically our sister ministry. And with Flourish, we create resources to help women grow in God's Word. So pretty much almost everything we have published has been through Flourish. We have published a couple things through Flourish Writers. And so a lot of digital Bible studies, workbooks. We have an Advent devotional that we did in a digital format. So we, Mindy and I do not lack dreams, I guess you can say, or big ideas. And it was always my heart and my intention to produce something in print. That was the dream. But like I mentioned, when we started Flourish 3 years ago, and you don't even have to have a ministry, right? We started Flourish with like 30 friends. That's what Flourish was 3 years ago. But when we started, I knew nothing about how to put a product, right? A digital product, something for someone else to consume and read together. I knew nothing. So I knew that it was going to be a really, really big jump to kind of fulfill this big grand idea I had of having a print book. And so this process of digital publishing helped us tremendously just learn, not just how to put it together, right? We offered some of these for free. I think Steady was, Steady and Proverbs were, very affordable little digital studies. Dig into God's Word was a free offer. Our Advent devotional, you're going to see the evolution of that in a minute. So I think I really encourage you, if you have, and we're going to talk about some goals, to maybe start with digital publishing. Learn how to just put an ebook together and start with that process. And I can answer lots of questions as to digital publishing as well. But I wanted to show you, before we got to this great picture of all of these print books, we started small. I want to show you as well the evolution of two of our projects. So over here on the left is Steadfast. This was our very first print book, and I can show it to you in a minute in real life form. And Steadfast was our first book baby, like print book baby. And we put so much time, effort, energy, because we had to learn. It was really through Steadfast that we began to learn the ropes of self-publishing. And it was perfectly imperfect in so many ways, right? But we loved it. It was our baby, right? It was the most beautiful thing we had ever laid eyes on. Well, after a few months, really after a year, we had learned so much more. And we knew that Steadfast needed a facelift. So the book on the right is our updated version of Steadfast. And I'm going to show you the difference after I get off the slides of the difference between these two. And it's amazing how much you can learn in a short period of time. So I hope this encourages you that it's okay to start small. It's okay to start imperfectly imperfect, because there's room to grow, and then there's room to make things better. Here's another example, right? So I mentioned that we've always wanted to do something for Advent. So back when we first had the idea, I knew that we weren't ready. So we did a digital book, and we learned so much about that process. And then 2 years ago, we're like, okay, 2 years ago, we're like, okay, let's do this in print. So we did a book in print. And then, but that one was imperfectly perfect as well, right? And then this past year, just a couple weeks ago, we got our basically third edition of this project that has been in our lives for 3 years. So this is like a 3-year evolution of basically the same project, where we've gone and we've made it better and better each year based on where our knowledge is at that moment. So often you're not going to start with that big, great, perfect end result. You're going to start with what you can do. So yes, Jill said the current edition of A Heart Prepared is beautiful. I mean, it's our most beautiful one. But does it mean that our digital one, when we did it 3 years ago, like we were over the moon? for it. And then 2 years ago when we did it, we were over the moon for that version. And then this year we're like, oh my goodness, this is the best thing since sliced bread, right? So that's just the beauty of starting where you're at, right? So not letting perfection, not letting just not knowing everything stand in the way from getting what's on your heart out. Okay, so that's a little bit about our story, and I'm sure that throughout the questions and other times I'll be sharing more of parts of our story. All right, let's talk about the pros and cons of publishing. The 4 biggest objections that I hear with regards to self-publishing, and I just want to give a little bit of a disclaimer. It's also known as indie publishing in the publishing world. So you might hear it as self-publishing, you might hear it as indie publishing. It's the same thing. It's when you are basically publishing the book yourself. And when we talk about the process of publishing, you'll see what it means to publish, right? Like what are all the different aspects of publishing? So the 4 biggest objections I hear are that it's expensive, that it's complicated, that it can hurt you from being traditionally published, and that it's not a credible way to publish. Like if you self-publish, you're not really an author. You're not really a published author. So those are the 4 objections that I often hear. And I'm here to tell you that all 4 are false. So I have this handy little chart here on some of the pros and cons because, just like anything, there are some cons to it. Everything, I love to tell my daughter, right? Everything is figure outable. Everything. And I think somebody wrote a book recently called Everything is Figure Outable. Sometimes it just takes time. All right, so let's talk about the pros because that's what I love, right? I love some of the positive aspects of self-publishing. It really helps to build your brand, and I say that term loosely, right? And give a voice to your passions. I love that, right? It helps you put out there what you are passionate about. And like I said, like I showed in our story, right? We were passionate about helping women grow in God's word. So we put out there, what we could. You might be able to be perceived as an expert. It actually gives you credibility. And depending on why you want to self-publish, maybe you are in a certain position or a certain career or job choice where you have a lot of great knowledge on a certain topic. Well, if you package that knowledge to share with others, that really gives you credibility. It sets you up as an expert in that field, and that's a great thing. There's a quick turnaround time. And this is obviously in comparison to the traditional publishing route, but it's much quicker process to self-publish a book than it is through the traditional publishing routes. So if time is important, so there's an urgency on time, this is a great solution. It gives you the opportunity to write on something that might be an outlier in the media, right? So with traditional publishing, publishers are looking for specific books that they know have somewhat of a track record to sell. Traditional publishing is a business. And so they have to make sure that if they invest in that project, that it has some track record of selling. Well, there's sometimes topics that, again, you might be an expert in, you might be passionate about, but in mainstream market, it's considered an outlier. It's not going to sell well. That does not mean that you shouldn't publish it. And we're going to talk about goals. It's easy to make edits and revisions whenever you want. And you can make, just like you saw, right? You can make updated versions of it as you improve upon it. And then also, I believe that success in self-publishing can land actually a traditional publishing contract if that is something that is desired. So it does not hurt your chances of being traditionally published. However, you do need to do your best work. Okay, so some of the cons are that there is a bit of a learning curve, right? But again, everything is figure outable, and you want to do first what you know you can do. There are various components to self-publishing, like editing, formatting, design, printing, marketing. But so there are various facets, but it's not complicated, right? And that's why we're so passionate about doing things like this and showing others the path and that process and those steps to make it as uncomplicated as possible. We always get the question about cost, right? Is it expensive? Well, one of the myths out there is that it's very expensive to self-publish, and that is flat out, it's just not true. It really is not expensive. Now, with that said, it's not free, okay? So it should never require thousands upon thousands of dollars like you hear in some of the rumors, but it also shouldn't be free. Now, you can publish for free. Like you actually could publish a book for $0. However, we do not recommend that route. And in the Q&A, I can talk more specifically about cost and what some of those costs are, right? So you want to make sure that you invest properly into that project based on your goals, because you don't want to produce a poor quality book. It might feel lonely at times, right? Without a team to make some decisions and move forward, but that's why we're here to help, and that's why we're so passionate about this. And then you do need a bit of a marketing plan. But here's a bit of a news flash. With traditional publishing, you also need to have a marketing plan. Unless you're like uber famous and they handle your marketing, 90% of authors that go the traditional publishing route have very little marketing support. And we know several that invest their own money, tons of time into marketing their traditionally published book. So I want to make sure that you're aware that there's beautiful things about self-publishing, and then there's not so beautiful things. But again, I can't emphasize enough how important it is to really understand what your goal with publishing is. So I'm going to cover 3 questions, 3 really important questions that you should ask yourself. The first is why. Why do you want to publish your book? And it might seem like a silly question, right? We often think we know the why, but I want to challenge you. Have you actually written it down? Do you really know why? And with any project we do, Mindy and I love to start with our why, because our why is not only going to help shape how the project looks, but we're able to come back to that why when we hit some roadblocks. And anything in life, right? We might hit roadblocks, but if we have a really solid why we're doing it, then we're able to persevere a lot better, right? So why are you self-publishing? Maybe one thing, and I mentioned this in an example earlier, might be that you're seen as an expert in a certain area, and you know that if you publish this book, you can get that level of knowledge or that in the hands of others. So many years ago, I was a licensed private investigator. Believe it or not, this is a fun fact about me. And for about 2 years, I was seen as an expert for nonprofits that were doing background checks on their volunteers. And I would go around speaking at all these nonprofit organizations around the state of Florida and share my knowledge. Had I known how to write a book, that would have been a really great time to quickly self-publish a book with the knowledge that was in my head that organizations had to pay me money to present, and I would have been able to share that information with so many more people than what I physically could do when I would go around and speak. And some organizations weren't able to afford a speaker, and so that would have been a really great opportunity for me to self-publish. Another one is maybe you're a speaker, you're an inspirational speaker, and what you might want something that's called a back of the room book, so that you are passionate about a certain topic. Maybe you go around and you speak on restoring marriages, and you know you have so much great information and you want to be able to have a resource that people can leave with after they hear you speak. Or maybe you're writing a legacy piece, right? You want to capture something in your family, a story in your family. We have a friend that lives in California, and she is writing a like memoir cookbook, okay, on all of her grandmother's recipes. So it's like this, it's telling the story of her grandparents, it's showcasing these recipes, and it's this beautiful thing for her family. Yes, she might want to share it with others, but first and foremost, it's for her family. You might be wanting to write your own story, right? So that your kids and grandkids and their kids can read it. So your why is so important, and it's going to shape every other decision. Who is your book for? This kind of piggybacks off the why. All right, can you picture that ideal reader? Knowing who will read or consume your book will help you determine the publishing path you should take. Okay, so again, we sometimes assume that publishing is like one size fits all, but it really isn't. And so who is this book for? And how are they not only going to, who's it for, but how are they going to consume it? For some reason, I always love using the example of like, oh, here's an example. I had a friend from a church we belonged to in Florida that was a worship leader, and she wanted to create like a pocket guide to leading worship, like Sunday worship, right? And her ideal reader was other worship leaders. She was not concerned with getting this out to the masses. She just wanted something that can be compact, that could be read quickly, and that she could share her knowledge and passion about leading worship to others. So knowing who your ideal consumer is so important. She also knew that her main demographic was mainly millennials, and they're not going to read a 500-page like textbook on leading worship, right? They want something quick and to the point and that like easy to store. They don't want this big book. They want something small and to the point that they can read quickly and absorb that information or inspiration or, you know, encouragement, whatever it might be. So this is your why and your who. So important. Question number 3. Your what are your financial goals? Sometimes we don't like to talk about money, right? And I don't know, I've never come across a presentation on self-publishing or actually traditional publishing that talks about money, but it's an important piece of the puzzle. It is just as important as your who and your why, because again, your what are your financial goals? What do you need to receive in return is going to shape what route you take. And it's also going to shape how much money you should put into the project. Okay? So when you have a clear understanding of your why, you can determine your financial goals. What do you need in return from the book? Okay? So here's the thing. If you are looking at this project and you want to replace your income, you know, you want to support your family off of this book, you probably need to invest a lot more money into that project. If you have a book that is like our friend Marcy, creating the legacy cookbook memoir, right? She's going to put her best into it, but she's not looking to replace her income with that, right? Or support her family. She's looking, it's almost a passion project that she's like, you know, I would love to make some money on it, but that's not what I need. So understanding what you need financially in return for this book is very, very important. Okay, so those are 3 questions that I think are very important when self-publishing. So I'm going to take another swig of my tea. So how is everybody? Okay, so is this so far? Tell me in the comments, is this helpful? All right. Has anybody had any aha moments? Any clarity so far? Because we're about to get into the self-publishing process where I'm going to break things down. I'm going to break down the steps more. And I want to give a bit of a disclaimer. I do not want you to get overwhelmed when you see this process. because it's easy to be like, oh my goodness, there's so many steps, there's so many things I need to learn, okay? Please be encouraged by our own personal story that everything's figure outable, right? And let's start with the first step, okay? And that's what I want to get across to all of you. Let's start with what we can do, and let's start with that first step, all right? So without further ado, let's jump in. Let's jump in. So step number 1, okay? Maybe you have a book idea. We gotta actually think through the book idea. So many people go right to the end result, and we do that with everything, right? We do that with we do that with everything. We just want to get to the end result. We want to get what we're passionate about. We want to get our story out in the hands of others, and we forget to do a couple things. One is to actually spend some time really conceptualizing and outlining our idea so that it's a solid concept. It's still a solid book, right? So that's really step 1. And at the end of this presentation, we just today opened up our course called the How to Self-Publish Your Book Masterclass. And in that course, we walk you through these steps like nitty gritty, okay? And one of the things I do is while you're conceptualizing your book idea, you can work on these things for publishing, but don't work on more things, all right? Don't start, researching publishers if you're still conceptualizing your book idea. Does that make sense? So there are things you can begin to work on at this point, but first you need a solid idea, all right? So that's step number 1, okay? Oh, and this, if you can't see the slide, a good book idea, right? You're kind of giving an overview of the project. Who is this book for? It answers that reader question. Who are you? Why are you qualified to write this book? And then kind of a working title and subtitle. Step number 2, early on, start thinking about your ideal reader. This is not only going to help shape your book, right? So if we're just talking about writing a good book, but it's also going to help shape the publishing process. So I mentioned, right, my friend that wants to write a book, or she's actually wrote a book and published a book for worship leaders. And so she needed to start thinking as she was writing it about them. Memoir can sometimes be tricky, okay? And maybe some of you here are wanting to write your personal story. Even though it's your personal story, you still have a reader, okay? If not, then the book's for you and only you. But if you want other people to read it and it's your personal story, you still have to think about your reader. So where are they, okay? What are some maybe ways you can find them? And then this might be a good time in the process to start gathering a community, okay? And we have a great question that was emailed in with regards to building a community. So I'm going to save some of that for then. But these are just some ways that you can begin to gather basically kind of your author brand. And again, don't get intimidated by that word. That doesn't mean you create a logo and you will do all these things. Your brand is basically who you are and how you want people to perceive you. That's a brand. Yes, there's lots of ways you can build on that brand, but that's the start, right? You can share your pieces of writing on social media. You can hang out with where your reader is at, right? So you're writing a book for worship leaders. You want to hang out with worship leaders. And there's also so many times there's guest writing opportunities. So again, it's just earlier in the process. We don't want to wait until after we've written the book to think about who is going to read that book. This needs to come earlier in the process. Okay, now we're getting into some like actual publishing to-dos. And one of the things that comes pretty early is what is called a trim size. A trim size is just the publishing term for the size of your book. And it determines how your book is presented. One of the easiest things to do if you want to go the print route, this is what we did, okay, is to compare your book with other books like it. Again, if you are writing a pocket guide for worship leaders, see what's out there for them. If you're writing a cookbook, well, go to Barnes & Noble, go to Joseph Beth, whatever you have in town, and look at, well, what's the standard size for cookbooks? You know, most likely cookbooks are not going to be 6 by 9, right? They're not 8.5 by 11. They're some odd size, right? I mean, and does it mean that there isn't cookbooks in all kinds of sizes? But you'll notice that the majority of cookbooks are around the same size. Memoir, right? What is a traditional size for a memoir? So the easiest thing to do here is to go to the bookstore or go to your bookshelf and see what is out there, because you don't want to kind of be left field. You don't want to write a cookbook and it's super itty bitty tiny, right? So these are some in the teal box. You'll see some common sizes for different books, for textbooks, for nonfiction, for memoir, for a children's book. Somebody actually, I know someone in our community is writing a children's book because she's emailed us a few questions. So those are the common sizes. So I do think you want to stay within what is common for that genre of book. Okay, so that comes pretty early because the next step is to select a book format template, okay? And this is where I said that we were going to give you lots of resources and you need to write these down. What is a book format template? Okay, one of the mistakes we made, okay, and I love sharing this because it's important, is that we tried to format our book ourselves from the very beginning. And it was an utter nightmare. My husband spent like 5 hours trying to get the margins right and stuff like that. Because when you choose a publisher, they don't let you your formatting can't just be all crazy. It has to have some parameters. And we did it ourselves. I did not know that templates existed back then. But here's the thing, guys. We did it anyways. But we just didn't know. It's okay if you don't know something, right? Then you learn from your mistakes. And so we didn't know that templates existed that were already pre-formatted. And when I say pre-formatted, that means the margins are nice. There's spacing. There's certain things that are kind of built into the document that help everything stay the same. And so there are so many templates out there. If you go to bookdesigntemplates.com, there's literally a template for everything under the sun, for children's books, for cookbooks, for workbooks, and they're all pretty affordable. I want to say these range anywhere from $25 to $50, and it's going to save you so much time. Renee Fisher, which we've partnered with a lot, I think she has 4 templates available. I saw that somebody wants to do a Bible study. She has one for Bible studies. BookBaby has a lot of templates, and Book Design Templates has a lot of great templates. And then there are some free ones as well. I know that Amazon or the Kindle Direct Publishing, they have some free ones. They have 3 or 4 free ones. Please write within a template if you want to go the self-publishing route. It will save you a lot of time later. Okay, then you actually need to finish your book. Okay, but did you notice before you write, you want that template, you want to figure out the size, right? You want to make sure your idea is solid, but then you have to write. And when you're in this process of writing and editing, don't worry about anything else. Please don't worry about anything else, right? There are some things you could do, some early things you could do to market your book or get the word out there, but you gotta focus on writing and editing. And with editing, we're big sticklers, Mindy and I, on good self-editing, being a good self-editor. So ProWriting Aid and Grammarly are fantastic resources. And then our personal editor is Melanie Chitwood with Next Step Speaker Services. If you have a nonfiction project, she's great. And then Tisha Martin, you can Google her, is great for fiction editing. So if you want to actually hire someone to do a concept edit, right? So they're just looking at your concept, or even a copy edit where they're fixing grammar and punctuation, you can. Again, going back to the goals, going back to those financial goals is going to determine if you go the free route or if you invest in an editor. Then, after you've written your book, I repeat, after you've written your book. Now is when you actually want to design the front cover and the back cover. 99 Designs is a great resource. Basically, the way it works is you put your idea out there, and it basically gets bid to several designers, and they pitch the design to you. And I think it starts at $199 for a full sleeve. They pitch it to you, and then you pick one. So you actually get anywhere from 3 to 4 concepts of your cover, which is really cool. We have never tried them because we found someone that we've been working with since the very beginning, and we built a relationship with her. She's Kristen Becker of 5 Dot Design. But again, you want to find someone that can design based on your type of book. Like, I wouldn't hire Kristen for a children's book, right? The other thing is, this is where you can do it yourself. But again, it all comes back to those financial goals. So if you want to do it yourself, you can. There are resources out there, or maybe you have some design experience and you can do it. However, it's not very expensive to hire someone to do your cover. Okay, then step 7, and I need to chop because I want to get to questions, is determine who will print your book. Okay, there are a lot of what is called print-on-demand publishers. Okay, so print-on-demand publishers, that's what they're called. That means they only print based on what orders they have. Traditional publishing will print in runs. Okay, so they're going to print however many they feel could sell at a given time. That's why sometimes when people do book launches, like traditional published authors do book launches, they run out of books, and they actually sell out sometimes early on because they only did a run, and then they have to go back to the printer and do another run of 5,000, 10,000 books. Print on demand came into the picture. They've probably been around at least 10 years, but they really got popular within the last 5 years because they're a great inexpensive resource for those people that don't want 5,000 books. They don't even need 100 books. They want to be able to print one book at a time. And so all of these here on the screen are publishers, right? So you upload your manuscript to them in a PDF format, and they print just the quantity that you want. And also you can connect all of these with Amazon so that you could sell through the Amazon platform. So somebody can go to Amazon and buy your book, and then that's when it's getting printed. Or you can buy yourself author copies just at the cost of printing. So I hope that makes sense. If there's more questions with regards to print on demand, wait until the Q&A time, and I will answer. Oh, here we are. Okay, so those are the steps of publishing your book, the different steps involved. I know that's not like nitty gritty. There's a lot more that can be said with those, but I want to leave plenty of time. So I'm actually going to stop this to answer your question. So now, actually, give me 1 more minute. Let me stop this. Okay, I'm back. Before I start answering questions, I want to quickly tell you about our course, right? So we have a course. So this was kind of a free workshop to answer your questions, but we do have a course called the How to Self-Publish Your Book Masterclass. And in that course, which is very, very affordable, we walk you through those steps. We also tell you what to do when, and lastly, we show you how to upload your book, how to buy an ISBN, upload your book to Kindle Direct Publishing, because that's what we've used. So I want to make sure that you're aware that we have that ready for you. And we also have a $5. So you're going to see like a button in your screen that takes you to the information page for it. And we also have a $5 coupon for all of those that are watching, and you can use that just today, okay? So it gives you $5 off both of our packages. So we have 2 packages available. And so I just want to show you really quickly about it, okay? So give me just a minute, and then you can start putting your questions in the chat. All right, so you should see my screen now. And so what we're going to do in the masterclass, and what the masterclass is different than this, is we have several more questions to help you determine what your publishing goals are. Then you're going to take that and you're actually going to put together a plan that is specific to you and your goals. You're going to learn the step-by-step approach we use to publish our books. Again, so we go a little deeper into each of those steps. We have a whole list of recommended resources, and we walk you through it's like a 40-minute video that walks you through very step-by-step how to upload your book, how to buy an ISBN directly with Kindle Direct Publishing. That alone, we've gotten feedback, has been valuable. So you have a workbook, a 20-page workbook. It's a 4-part video series with the 5th video being the walkthrough. And we also, so here is Eva, and she took our course just a few months ago and published this book, Favored, Blessed, Pierced, following our process. So that always makes us happy. And so I already talked about what you'll learn. So you're going to determine your publishing goals. You're going to create a specific plan. You're going to learn the exact process. And then you're going to learn how to use Kindle Direct Publishing if that's what you want to use to it. We do have a clip, a little sneak peek of one of the lessons, so you could watch that. And Angela was another one of our students that recently self-published a print book as well. So I want to show you the price. So for the masterclass training, it's $29, and you get $5 off of that if you purchase it today. Okay, so that's $24, which is amazing. And then we also have a second package that includes a 25-minute coaching call. This might be really helpful if you have specific questions that you want to get on the phone with us and just ask us, that we could really, really hone in and help you take that next step. Again, you could also use the $5 coupon for this package, making it only $49. So you get the whole course, you get the workbook, you get the walkthrough video, and you get to get on the phone with Mindy or I for 25 minutes. So that is very valuable. Okay, I am back. Let's turn this off. Okay, so I wanted to tell you more about that program because we just opened it up today, and we're also giving you that $5 coupon. Okay, I am all yours for questions. Let me take some tea. Sherilyn has a great question. She says, can you help us understand what the differences are between using BookBaby or some of the other companies like KDP or Lulu.com? Great question, Sherilyn. Thank you so much for asking that. Yes, I can. So each of these print-on-demand publishers, they kind of are good at different things, right? So here's an example. With Kindle Direct Publishing, you can only publish paperback, okay? And whereas with, I know for sure Vervante, and I believe Ingram Spark, you can publish hardcover, okay? That makes a big difference. So if you need a hardcover book, that's one example that certain publishers, certain of those print-on-demand publishers are able to do certain things that others aren't. What I recommend, again, it's going back to those goals, going back to like how your book's going to be, what size it's going to be. Another example is if you have a really unique size for some reason. What you need to do is go through them. Those are the main well-known, most well-known print-on-demand publishers. You want to get on their websites and you just want to study them. You want to read what they offer, how they offer it, the support that they offer, etc. And that's going to help you determine which one is specific to your goals. For another example is with Vervante. They also offer fulfillment. So if you're not going to distribute through like Amazon, so to speak, right? Or you have something like your book, you want your book to come with different things like a bookmark or cards or something. Vervante is the type of print on demand that they can support that type of thing. So let's say you have a certain book that needs to come with other items. That would be something for them. So it's going to depend on your goals. It's going to depend on what you're publishing and like the physicalness of it. Maybe you want spiral bound. That's another example. So you need to go on their websites and just read what they are capable of doing. But they all work the same in regards to they are print on demand. So that means they print however many you tell them to or when orders come in. Okay, so that's that. Okay, let me scroll down. Okay, somebody was asking about 99 Designs. From my understanding, they might have a special right now. It's $1.99 for one cover. But someone said they have, they pitch 5 covers for $500. There are different packages. I do know that. So the $500 package might include more to it, but I still think they have their $199 package. So I think they have like a $199, a $299, something else. So just look at the different offerings because they'll offer like different things. Okay. Sherry asks, how do I figure out a marketing plan for my book? That's a great question. I can't go into like great depth with marketing because I want to make sure that I stick to like self-publishing questions. However, I will say, okay, and here, so that I would show you, here was Steadfast, right? So our #1 book, baby, and it was so little. One of the things we learned was just the importance of size. So this is 6 by 9. And then this is 1 year later what it came out to be. And this was the size we ended up choosing for all of our studies, which is like 7.5 by 9.25. I just love the size of it, right? But this is the evolution of that. So when we started this book, okay, we had like, I don't know, 100 people that knew us and knew about the book. And we even did a launch party, guys, like a in-person launch party when we launched this book. And we were so excited about it. And that was our marketing, right? We told all of our friends, all of our family. We got into the communities we were already a part of. There are so many marketing strategies out there with regards to a book. And sometimes we get, as new authors, we get intimidated because we're like, oh my goodness, we have to do this full-fledged like book launch. I don't think you do. You know, when we started, now we do much larger book launches. But when we started with Steadfast, and even our second book, which was Feasting, was about a few months afterwards. You know, we started with what we had available. So the community we had available, and then we tried to stretch that a little bit more. So how could we expand that community a little bit more? One of the things that I see that isn't being done enough is sharing your writing from inside your book, or maybe you know how in film, right? There's a lot that gets scrapped. There's a lot of things that come off in the editing room floor. You could actually, within the book process, you're going to be doing a lot of editing out. And so, but don't throw that away, because that might be good. You might realize maybe this story doesn't really fit into my book, but I can use it as marketing. I can share it. I can share it in an email. I can share it on my social media page. So nothing should be wasted. And I think that's one of the best ways, quite honestly, to market a book. Okay, so I hope that answers your question a little bit. Okay, is this a course you expect to be offering repeatedly in the future? Yes. Basically what we did is we created this course several months ago in like a small form, and then we've made it better. And this is like our official offering. So yes, you can absolutely buy it in the future. Okay. I have written a children's book and I need to hire an illustrator. We've gotten all these questions about illustrators. The illustrator can cost anywhere from $2,000 to $5,000. Yes. Will make the final product more expensive to buy. I'm a first-time author. Do you recommend traditional publishing in my situation, and maybe the publisher will provide the illustrations? Yes, you have a unique situation with regards to needing an illustrator, and obviously something like illustrations is a professional field, right? Hiring an illustrator. I will say this, make sure that you are getting quotes from various illustrators. Don't just go with one quote. It's kind of like if you take your car in or you're buying a car, you know, you kind of want to shop around, so to speak, and you want to ask other authors. So even if you don't know them, but you pick up a book and you're like, man, I love the illustrations in this book, and you know that that person self-published, that author self-published, reach out to them by email. You know, authors love to help support other authors, and ask them flat out, you know, how much, I'm trying to get an idea if I should self-publish this children's book, but I need to hire an illustrator. What was your process? You self-published a children's book. You know, how much did it cost? How can you advise me? And I think we should do that first before just assuming that we should go the traditional publishing route. Now, with that said, okay, that might be a viable way of you getting that book out, right? Is the traditional publishing route. So, but again, research, you know, children's traditional book publishers. See what are the publishers out there that are traditionally publishing children's books. There's lots of them. And then maybe reach out to an author. So I would challenge and encourage you to reach out to 2 authors. One, an author that has self-published a children's book. Talk to them about their experience and ask them questions about illustrations. And then an author that has traditionally published a children's book. Even if you don't know them, just find them online and email them, and ask them their experience with traditional publishing, and how that went with the illustrations and things like that. With traditional publishing, you know, you don't have control over that. And that's just something that not a lot of people know. Even with any, you don't have control over the design, the cover design. That's really out of the author's hands. So it also depends on how much control you want to have over those illustrations. So it's just a balance, and it goes back to your goals. But before you make decisions, interview. I want you to interview 2 children's book authors that have gone either way. And then I think you can make a better decision moving forward. Okay, Barbara says, I am co-authoring a book. Can the 2 of us have a coaching call with you if we take, oh, absolutely, Barbara. Yes, you can. So if you grab the coaching call, both of you can be on the thing. Mindy and I do everything together. So yeah, absolutely. Okay, Ellen says, great presentation. I'm a speaker and a writer. As a writer, I've self-published 3 books in a Bible study series. Woohoo! 1 book releases once a year and coincides with a women's conference. That's fantastic. Would an agent or publisher ever consider me? My goals are to grow geographically as a speaker while still writing, publishing Bible studies. Well, it seems like we're in a similar sphere because we have published, the majority of our books have been self-published. And I mean, Bible studies, I should say. All of our books have been self-published. You know, we started pursuing the traditional publishing route because we really just want to have an experience with it. And we pitched some ideas we had to an agent to a few agents. And for us, after going through that process, and we even had one agent that was very, very interested in our idea, we realized that it wasn't a good fit for us. We would lose a lot of control. And we like, okay, our goals, okay? We really like having control of the timeline, of the cover design, we want to own our words. So it made sense for us personally, especially with the project that we were thinking about, for us to not go the traditional publishing route. However, your question is, would an agent or publisher ever consider me? Yes, they would. You know, if you have a good idea and you're a good writer, they absolutely will consider it. And especially if you already have a little bit of a platform. And I cringe when I use that word because it scares so many people. But the reality is that please don't get intimidated with the word platform. But you already have, and that was one of the things the agent liked, is that we already had a community. And this was a year ago. So, you know, that helps you. Now, you don't need it, but it helps you. So to answer your question, yes. Just think about the project. Think about your goals. I feel like that's like the name, right? That's like the key to this whole thing is like, what are your goals? So for us, when we started wetting our feet in that route, we realized, you know what, this route doesn't line up with our goals. Will it one day line up with our goals? Probably, actually. And we would still love to go the traditional publishing route with a certain project, but right this moment, it just didn't. But you could very well be considered, yes. Amy, does Amazon give higher rankings in search results if you use KDP as opposed to some of the others? No, I don't think they favor you using them over another print-on-demand publisher. Ali, do you have a comparison chart for these different publishers? Could you direct us to one? That's a great thing for us to create, actually. I think Mindy's on the call. So Mindy, write that idea down. Okay, I don't have a comparison chart, but that is a great resource for us to create. And I think we could actually create that rather quickly. So thank you for the challenge. We're gonna accept that and we're gonna create a comparison chart. There might be one out there. I would say Google it, but we don't have one, but that is a great idea. So I was telling somebody else, just kind of go on to the different sites and research them based on what your needs are. But that is a great idea to have a handy place for it. Will you share what template provider you use for Heart Prepared? Okay, good question, Jill. So this is our newest. So here's our Heart Prepared babies. This one, we didn't know the world of it, and it is, I mean, it's beautiful inside. Like a lot of people can't tell the difference. Right? I formatted this while I was on vacation and I wanted to cry. I remember one of the things I wanted to do was make this bar bleed and I could not figure it out. So guys, we're in a little bit different, right? So by the time we formatted this one, which is gorgeous, we now hire someone to do all of our formatting. She's actually incredibly affordable. Like, I think incredibly affordable. I think we paid $150 to format this book, and it's gorgeous. It came out so beautiful. We have full colors on all of them, and our Bible studies are fully formatted professionally as well. But again, Steadfast, where is it at? We weren't there. We couldn't afford it, so we did it ourselves. And so I don't want that to stop you. I don't want you to assume that you need to hire someone. We're at the point now that thankfully we can hire someone, but we didn't. We didn't at the beginning. But if you want that information, you can always, if you want her specific information, you could always email us. But getting unless you have a very specific project, right? Like, so a Heart Prepared, you probably wouldn't be able to buy a template like this. Then you would need to hire someone to create it the way that you want it done. But if it's more generic, even Bible studies, you can find a template that will help you. Okay, let me keep going. If you are a speaker, will the publisher ship to your event location? Yes. So you could, the publisher, so the print-on-demand publisher, for example, I can go into my portal, my KDP portal, and just order author copies and have them sent wherever I want. So that would be the same with the others. So yeah, absolutely. Pamela. I put all my published fitness articles into a book form. Great use of information. I want to upload as an ebook and also print. This is not my best work of what I want to do, but it'll still go along with my wellness program. Since many people know I'm writing a book and waiting for it, will this harm my reputation by publishing this first? That's a great question. You know, you said, I know it's not my best work. I guess it depends on what you mean by that. So like if it's just flat out like it has errors in it, so it has typos and it has errors and things like that, then I don't think you should publish it. But if it's just something like us, right? You know, when we did this, aesthetically, it's not our best work, but we made sure that it wasn't an embarrassment to our brand. It wouldn't hurt our brand. And a lot of people aren't very picky, to be quite honest. Like, look here, you see that? It doesn't even have a perfect spine color. So, you know, there's just little things. And a lot of times people won't notice those things. But it also, we knew that when we do press publish on something, that it's not going to hurt our brand. We make sure that, to our knowledge, there aren't typos in it. Now, does that happen sometimes? Yes. So we're not going to put out something that is like we don't feel comfortable. So we still have to have a piece about it. So if you don't have a piece about it, then you shouldn't. But if you're just saying this is the best I can do right now, then girl, hit publish and move forward with that. I need quotes and verses designed for the interior of my devotional. Are the templates you suggested sufficient for this? Do you print only black and white interiors? Good question. So with our Bible studies, yes. All of our Bible studies are black and white interior. They will be a lot more inexpensive to print, but they do have pictures. So you can still do pictures with that. This book right here, we formatted ourselves. So you were asking about like quotes, like designed quotes. You know, you can just find another font, you know, kind of like we have here with the title. You see it? Where we just have another pretty font. So you could do that with quotes. You know, you can block quote it in a pretty font and stuff like that. So this book, just to give you guys an idea of a print cost, this book costs us, well, our black and white books cost us about $2.50 per book for Amazon. And that cost is going to be pretty normal across the range to print it in this size and stuff like that. Our full color book, this book we just released right now, cost us about $8.50. So when you go from black and white to full color, it does jump up in price. Sorry, the camera is like, where do you want me to look, at the book or you? So it is going to be more cost. And I think our workbook, this is our Flourish Writers workbook. It is color inside, even though it's only one color. But this is a much bigger. This is 8.5 by 10. This is about $10 for us to print. So unfortunately, you really won't know the print cost until you actually upload it to wherever you're going to print it. Once you upload it, they'll be able to tell you because it's based on the number of pages, the size of the book, color or no color, that kind of thing. Okay. Could we get a list of common dimensions? Okay, so I believe, I'm not sure. We can get you, you can also go back when you get the replay and just take a picture of that little thing, of that little box with the common dimensions. If you join the course, I know that's in the workbook, so you definitely get access to those common dimensions. I got that list from KDP. It's on their website. So you could actually even Google like common print trim sizes for different genres and that will come up. Michelle asked, will you do a class on marketing? We actually did do a class on marketing just recently, about 2 weeks ago. We have a course called How to Market Your Book. And we covered several areas about marketing in general, and then just also some book marketing, especially on how to grow a little bit of your community and things like that. So you could always email us and we'll send you the link for that. I think that is priced at $17 for, it's like a mini little course. Can you say more about the ISBN and how to get those? Yes, so your ISBN is basically your driver's license. It's the it's the Social Security card of your book. And there's always a controversy if, like, can you get a free one? Should you buy one? There's only one place to buy it, okay? So write this down. It's Bowker, BOWKER.com. Bowker.com. That's like, there's one place to buy it. It's run through the US. And if you live in Canada, you know, or you live in the UK or something like that, you live in another country, they're going to have their version of the same thing. So in the US, it's Bowker.com. Okay. So we always recommend buying them. And they're $125. They're the same price for everybody. But basically, it gives you the publishing rights to it. You can get a free ISBN through any of these print-on-demand publishers. However, the only caveat is that they are then the only ones that can publish your book. So if you want to then publish your book elsewhere, you would have to get another ISBN number. We just like owning the imprint, basically saying we're the publisher of it. However, going back to your goals, going back to your budget, it may not matter. It might be totally okay for you to get a free one. Or you might want to buy one. So it kind of just, again, depends on those goals. But if you do want to purchase one, it's through Bowker.com, and they're $125. All you're getting is a number. it's a social security number for your thing. The barcode, the print on demand publisher will put that on for you. This is free for everybody. I did not know that when I first published, and I bought a barcode. There are certain instances that people want to buy the barcode, but you don't need to. And I didn't know that. So for like the first 3 books, I bought the barcode also. And I realized that I didn't need to. So all you need to buy is the ISBN number if you choose that route, and then they will put the barcode on it. Okay. Who did you publish your second version of Steadfast with? All of our books have been published through Kindle Direct Publishing. So yeah, and we've had a great experience with them. They're very easy to work with, and they used to be called CreateSpace, and now they're Kindle Direct Publishing, and but they're the same company, and they've been great to work with. We've had some hiccups, okay, like any company, but they've been good for us and our goals, I should say. So everybody is the same. So the 7.5 by 9.25 size, which is this size right here. This is 8.5 by 11 size, and this is 6 by 9 size. So you see? I think those are all the sizes we've done. Okay. I talked with an editor yesterday that said before you publish, I think her, should have a large audience. Okay, Debbie, thank you for reminding me about your question. You emailed in, and I even printed out your question. Okay, so this is such a good topic, and I'm glad that you reminded me about it, because I have a lot to say. Okay, unfortunately, I think that is such a default answer that I hear from agents and publishers with regards to platform. And I simply don't think it's true. Okay, guys, this is my opinion. Okay, so take it for what it is. I don't think it's true. I think I hear it all the time. I hear like this just default, like you need to have a large community. You won't be able to get published, when there are so many instances with traditional publishing, of authors being published with tiny communities. Shauna Letlier is one of them. She was part of the Flourish Writers Conference, had a very small community. Catherine Ray, which is a fiction author, she was also part of our Flourish Writers Conference, had no audience when she got traditionally published. But I do think it takes excellent writing, right? So you have to be a good writer. Again, with traditional publishing, it's a business. They want to make sure that you can sell. And also the reality is that they don't really market your book. So they leave that a lot in your hands. I'm not saying they don't do anything. They do open some doors sometimes for certain things, but it's really in your hands. So you have to push that engine. Well, of course, if you have an audience already, that's going to be an easier sell. They know that you have someone that might buy your book. However, there are so many instances. So need is not, I don't think that's true. I think it depends on your idea. I think it depends on how good of a writer you are. So if you want to go the publishing route and you have a smaller community, or you have no community, you might just have to do a better job. That might have to be a really good idea, really good writing. When you're creating a book proposal, remember that's a business document. You got to put a lot of time and effort into that document, but it's possible. Now with self-publishing, I think it's even, less needed. We published Steadfast, like I said, with about, I should really look, maybe 300 people, to our name. We didn't sell very many, but that wasn't our goal at that time. So again, right, the name of the game here in this presentation is, what are your goals? What do you need out of it? And we weren't looking to sell thousands of copies of Steadfast. We were thrilled with what we did sell, but we had a tiny community. When we digitally published our first Bible study that we charged for, we sold 50 of them, and we were over the moon. We were so excited. So again, I think it just depends. I don't think you need a big community. And I think so many people spend so many times spinning their wheels, growing a platform, and sometimes I wonder, like, is it ever going to satisfy? Because even for our community, one traditional publisher can say, you know what, that's not big enough. Another one might not care. So there's so many facets to it. And there is no exact number. There is no, like, you need this amount of numbers. So it's multifaceted. It depends on a lot of things. But for a default flat out answer that you should have a larger community before you self-publish or pitch a traditional public book, I think is false. I think you need to, it all goes back to your goals. So anyways, that's my rant on that. Michelle said KDP will provide ISB numbers for free. Yes, all the print-on-demand publishers will. Lavonda asks, is this recorded? Yes, and you will receive a replay. Krista says, I'm thinking about writing a memoir that includes my poetry and my art. Will certain companies print only words, or will they print my art too? No, Krista, you can absolutely print your art. Any of these print-on-demand publishers will print images on your books. So that would be a great thing, and you could absolutely print them. Now, if you want, I mentioned, if you want like a hardcover book, or you want something special about it, certain self-publishers will publish certain books, but all of them will publish pictures. So you could absolutely do that. Dawn asked, if we purchase the package with the coaching session, can you hold off until we reach a point where we need it, or does it have to be made within a certain time frame? It needs to be made within 90 days. Okay, Dawn, only because we have this fear that people are going to buy it and then they're going to forget about it. And we don't want your money if you're not going to utilize it. So we do have a little caveat that it just has to be done within 90 days. So if you feel that you'll be in that process within 90 days, you can definitely hold off. So it doesn't have to be like tomorrow, but it does have to be within 90 days. If not, then just wait and email us and we can add that on later. Michelle. Okay, so Michelle talked with an art student from a local university to get some ideas for illustrators, and some will do it for cheap. So again, that's a great, thank you for mentioning that, because I know we had the question for Andra, I think it was Andra. Again, it goes back to all those goals, right? And that might be a great way to get a student to, there's so many students that are like phenomenal artists. They could do really, really amazing jobs. And especially if you have a bit of a guide, right? Like, this is the type of style that I want from another book. A good artist it's like a photographer, right? Like for my wedding, I didn't hire a fancy wedding photographer because I was like, I knew someone that was a good photographer, and I knew that they could do the same thing as these fancy wedding photographers that were charging 4 times the price, right? So if you're just good at your craft, anyone can do anything, or they could do that, right? Barbara said that you've been an inspiration. Thank you so much. I really wanted to encourage and inspire you guys. That was my goal. Thank you for your information. Yes, one thing at the right time. Just what's the next right step? And then just be okay with imperfect progress. Be okay with putting something out. Again, don't put out what you knowingly know is not good work. But if it's your best work at that time, don't let that stop you. Please don't let that stop you. Now we can look back and laugh at our first version of Steadfast, okay? But at the time, it was our best work. So it's okay for us to look back and be like, yikes, right? But at the time, it was our best work, and I'm so glad that we put it out there. Andra says, it's a $5 discount only available today. It is only available today, but till 11:59 p.m. Eastern. Just because with coupons, we just have to have some boundaries with it because it's already such an affordable course. That's just kind of for you guys that are showing up. We're not even going to tell anyone else about that. So that's for who basically watches and invests the time into watching this now or in the replay today, right? Actually, no, that's only for you guys that are watching it now, because I'm not sending out the replay until tomorrow morning. So that's kind of our gift to you guys. So Sue says, I want to let everyone know that hybrid publishers do exist. Yes, and I don't talk a lot about hybrid publishers. But basically, they do a little bit of both. And so thank you for bringing that up. There's a big list of them that they kind of act as traditional publishers where they guide you through a lot of the process, but it's very much self-publishing. One of my concerns, there's a lot of legitimate ones, and even with BookBaby, I feel like they do a little bit of that. They have packages where they'll handle certain things and stuff like that. And then there's a lot of these hybrid self-publishers that they help guide you along the way. Just be careful. We had a question recently with regards to somebody inquiring about one, and the price point that they were charging for the services, I thought, for what they wanted to do, I thought was way too high. So I just encouraged her to research more. So just do your research. We have to be detectives in this. And it's the same thing with traditional publishing, guys. Like they're not all built the same either. So there is sadly the world of vanity publishing, which, I think hurts self-publishing, and a lot of people have had a lot of bad experiences, paying $10,000 to self-publish a book, and you have a garage full of books because they have like a minimum number that you have to order and stuff. That is old school self-publishing. That's not the way that it needs to be done today. And so I just try to also prevent people from being suckered into that world. But yes, there are hybrid self-publishers that can help guide you. They help do some of the things for you. They're totally legitimate. But just again, sometimes if you don't have a piece about something, just don't move forward. That's what I told this one person. I was like, if something in your gut is like, I don't know, or if you're gonna have to get into debt to self-publish, that might be a sign. Just do some research and look for another route. Okay. Yes, someone asked, will I be able to watch this after it's over? Yes, we're gonna tomorrow morning, check your email because we'll send the replay out. Okay. So for legalities, Ellen asks, does it matter for legality purposes when selling self-published books to go with a signed ISBN or buying your own? No, for the legalities of it, it doesn't matter. Really just what an ISBN is who is the publisher of that book? Who has it has nothing to do with your words and your copyright but who has the right to publish that book? When you own your ISBN, you yourself are the publisher of that book. You can say, I want to publish it here. I want to publish it here. I don't want to publish it. When you get a free one, whether it's for any of them, right? You're just saying they have the right to publish this book. And now sometimes that's not a big deal, right? But like if you want to move it somewhere else, then you have to get another one. Does that make sense? So, but it doesn't affect the legalities of the book. Jill said this workshop did give me some clarity on some next steps. Yay. At what point do you publish? Oh, Debbie, I think I already answered do you have to have a big audience? And I already answered this question. When we published Steadfast, we did not have a big audience. Please don't succumb to, I think there's just myths out there. It goes back to your goals. Now, if you want to tell me I want to sell 500 books, then I'm going to be like, well, if you want to sell 500 books, then you probably need this size audience. But if, or I need to replace my income, or I want to bring my husband home, from work, and I need to do this with this book, then we're talking about a, totally different ballpark, right? But the size of your audience to publish is going to be determined by your goals. And no. And big audience is so subjective. Like, to me, we have a big audience with Flourish and Flourish Writers. To somebody else, we have a tiny audience, right? So it's very, very subjective. And what does big audience actually mean? There's so much that goes into your audience. And actually, engagement is much bigger. Because I know other people and bloggers with huge audiences, like over 50,000. And they have very low engagement. They have very low rate of who buys from them. So the number sometimes is just a number, and it needs to be aligned with what your goals are. Wanda asked, do I use Amazon because I think it's the best or easiest? That's a great question. I do think they're easy to work with. I don't think they're the best. I think they're all good at different things. They are the only one, from my understanding, I might be wrong, that you could literally, like, it's free. I know that, for example, with like, oh goodness, Ingram Spark, there is an upload fee. And it's not a lot. I think it's like $50, but there's no upload fee with Amazon. So when I talk about Amazon, we have the most experience with it, but it doesn't mean that I think they're the best in comparison to the others. It's just, I do think they're easy to work with, but I think some of the other ones are easy as well to work with. We've had a great experience with them. We've had some hiccups around the holidays, but I think it's just because so many people are ordering books and things like that. With like getting books in bigger quantities, but we're ordering, like last year we were ordering like 400 or 500 books, and there was some hiccups with ordering that many around the holidays. But unless you're really ordering that quantity of books, I think they're a great resource. Can you share who you use for your interior design when you don't use a template? Yes, so we use someone, she lives in Romania, and you can email us, Amy, for her information. I just don't want to put her because it's just her email. I don't want to put her email just here in the chat, but you can email us at info, I will put it in here, at flourishgathering.com. And we will, anybody that's interested in her information, I just don't want her to be like bombarded with people just emailing. But if you're interested in her information, then absolutely email us and we'll get you her information. Okay. How long is registration open for the class? It's actually open indefinitely. So what we're doing is we've been kind of taking these workshops and then making them kind of official mini courses. And we're offering, well, the coaching calls are not available indefinitely. But the course is. So we're just kind of doing this because we opened it up today, but you can definitely get it whenever you need. And then the $5 coupon is only for today. But don't feel pressured, please. Cheryl says, what if you already got an ISBN through KDP? Can I go buy one now and replace it? No, you could actually. Yeah, you could absolutely purchase one and replace it. Yeah, you could. Now, if you're not going to move from KDP, I don't think you need to, quite honestly. It's not hurting you to have the free ISBN in any way. But if you want to do more with that book or you want to publish that book elsewhere, that would be then the time to get it. So don't feel like you need to get it. I know Renee, for example, she used a lot of the free ones when she first was self-publishing her books, Renee Fisher, and then just recently was like, but it makes sense for her, right? She's like, you know what, I'm going to just do this, like, I'm going to own them all, the publishing rights for them all, and then she went in and like bought a bulk of them. And just changed it at that time. So it's not hurting you, I should say, to have it, the free one. But you can change it and you can buy one at any time and replace it. So great question. If I purchase an ISBN and we self-publish, but her series is later picked up by traditional publishers, does the ISBN stay the same? No, they'll change it because most likely they will change a lot of things in it, and they might change the trim size. So like when you buy an ISBN and you register it, there's a few things you can't change. You can't change the name of the book or the subtitle. You can't change the trim size. That is like, it's kind of like your Social Security. Like it identifies that book, right? A book is something in physical, so it has to have like these parameters by it. So most likely, if it gets traditionally published, some of those things are going to change, and at that point, they'll be the publisher of it. So the ISBN would have to change. Jody says your covers are beautiful. Thank you. We love them. Rob, can you talk about using BookBaby and other self-publishing companies listed in the training? We don't have firsthand knowledge with BookBaby. I think I answered this question for someone else. All of these print-on-demand publishers, they all work kind of similarly, but they also all have little caveats that are different. the best thing to do is to research them. Just go on their websites. They all have great information on their websites, and find out more about them specifically depending on what you want to publish. I made some examples, like if you want a spiral bound, or if you want a hardcover, or if you want a really unique size. Some of them are going to be able to do that, and some of them are not going to be able to do that. And then read reviews. Just like I Google everything, like reviews for la 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 la. And and I start reading people's experience. Don't get lost in reviews, because take things with a grain of salt. So I don't have familiar with BookBaby. I have been on their site and I have been researching them for a little while. I am impressed with what I see. They have some packages available, which I think is cool. They have great book templates available. They have great information on their website. I think some of their packages seem pretty reasonably priced for what you get. I have actually put it out there that if anyone has published through BookBaby, to please contact us, because I would love a firsthand knowledge of someone that has used them. But I don't know anyone yet. So I'm impressed with what I see that they offer. So yeah, and sometimes you just have to try it. Like when we did our first book, I didn't know if they were going to be good or not or whatever, so yeah, sometimes it's just kind of walking through it. Who is the woman that did your formatting? Okay, so email us. I put the email, and we will email you that information. And who creates your covers? I can give her information out. That is Kristen Becker with 5.design.com. So 5.design.com. You can go over, and if you go to her portfolio, she has covers. And yeah. Okay, let's see. I still have lots of questions, and I'll hang out and answer questions. If you have to pop off, that's perfectly okay. I want to try to at least get through the questions that you have all asked. So I will keep going for a little bit longer to answer your questions. Can self-publishing have a far enough reach for sales if you want to one day replace your current day job? Thank you for such an honest question, Pamela. That's a toughie. Oh goodness, I don't want to have a cop-out answer like it depends. But the reality is it depends. I will be honest with you, and we actually just had someone email us asking about publishing Bible studies and if it was like a viable business. And it has been hard for us to make a living off of just selling our books. It is a hard market. And the thing is, I think there's a misconception that traditional publishing is more lucrative. Sadly, I know 4 best-selling authors that all of them struggle financially and have not made the money they thought they would make. And they were all traditionally published. One of them has published 3 best-selling books. The other one had a 4-book fiction series that were all bestsellers. She even won a Christie Award for them. And so I think just being a writer, it's kind of like being an artist, is just a hard field. And will you replace your current day job? It depends on what your current day job is, right? So if you're an executive making $200,000 a year, probably not. Or if you're like a teacher making $35,000 a year. So it depends on what that is. For us, publishing our books has not been able to support us as far as like what we need to take home at the end of the day. So that's why we do a lot of different things, and we have a lot of different types of offers, and we've done conferences and we've done workshops and things like that. So I'm just speaking honestly, but with both self-publishing and traditional publishing, it just does not mean if you go the traditional publishing route that like all your money dreams will come true. It's sadly, I hear the opposite more than I hear, that it's a really lucrative thing, or that it can replace, day jobs. A lot of these still have to rely on husband's income, or other avenues of income. And like I said, they were all best-selling authors. So it's a tough one, guys. It really is a tough one. And I don't want to sugarcoat it. But again, that's where really knowing what your financial goals are is important. So I hope that answers your question. And I tried to answer it as truthfully as I could. Dawn said, I wasted a year trying to grow a platform and a presence, and my ministry is of moms who struggle with addiction. So that's where your heart is. Okay. Maybe it wasn't a waste because there were lessons learned, but we do have to look back at if we're ministering to a group of people or trying to reach the general market and audience. Yeah. So I would, if that's your passion, so our passion was reaching women that want to grow in God's word. And that's what we started with first. Yeah, we wanted to have some products, but we started with that. And so we make sure that we also stay in our lane. And, you mentioned wanting to reach the general market. You kind of wouldn't be staying in your lane. So like if your passion is moms of those with children that have addictions, you would be creating a resource for them. And that's where I showed the evolution of our story, in that we started with something digital for that community. We didn't jump to create a Bible study for like people outside of our community. We were serving our community, and we actually grew because we continued to serve our community of women that wanted to grow in God's word. And then we created the next resource and the next resource and the next resource. And, we still create resources. And now with Flourish Writers, we're creating resources for this community, right? We're not going to like go in left field and be like, oh, we want to also serve this community over here, and let's create a resource for them. And that we have no community, no business kind of being over there. So, and I don't think it's a waste, but I think that also you have to make sure that your offer aligns for them, and start small. We, especially even with selling, right? There's a whole world of selling, especially if you're going the online route. Start with just selling to them, and start with something like that's $7, right? Start with something small, increase it to $15, then do something at $20, because, I think that's how we started. We actually started, the very first thing we sold to Flourish was an affiliate product. It was somebody else's product that we were an affiliate for. And we got our feet wet with selling, but that's going to grow your community. You focus in on them. How long is registration open? Indefinitely. So the coupon is for today only, but the offer you can have at any time. I used my last coaching call within 2 weeks. Oh, we had a lot of people that, when they bought it, they signed up right away. So yeah, so you could definitely come in kind of at the early stage and use the coaching call with us, just if you have more questions, or you can go through the course. This course, if you sat down and just kind of consumed it all in one go, maybe 3 hours of your time, and then it'll help you because you're creating that plan for you. So if you for sure want to self-publish, get the course, because you're going to create that plan, and then you're going to know what to do when. That's so important. Myrna has, how do you acquire a QR code to place on your bookmark? On your bookmark or on your book? Myrna, you're the first that I don't have an answer for. I don't know. Maybe somebody else? Look, Maria says you can simply search for QR generators online, and most offer the ability to create a few codes for free. Thank you, Maria. I did not know. I know nothing about QR codes. So thank you. I'm glad somebody else had an answer. Okay. Can you explain how to use Grammarly for editing? But it never showed me my error, so I could not figure. Okay. So if you want to put in a whole document, like your whole manuscript, I actually don't recommend Grammarly. I recommend ProWritingAid.com. Like you can upload your whole document to their site and get it. Grammarly is a great extension on your browser, and it will pick up like all your errors and stuff as you're typing things. So it's great for like general stuff. I think you can go on, like they have a Chrome extension, and then they have like a web thing, like a desktop version where you can put it in. I use Grammarly for their Chrome extension. So like if I'm on Facebook typing something, or if I'm on email, or even in my Word, it's like picking it up. But if I were to upload something completely, I think ProWritingAid is a better program. Suzanne says, thank you for taking the time. Who did the Heart Prepared cover? Okay, so all of our covers are Kristen Becker. All of our majority of our formatting is somebody we use for formatting that you can email us about, because it's her personal email and I don't want to just put that in the chat. Okay. Dawn said, I used to belong to a larger writers program, but I love Flourish and how personal this is. Thank you so much, Dawn. We do try to make it personal and intimate, and thank you. And just share what we've learned along the way. Who did your feasting cover? All of our covers from the very beginning have been Kristen Becker from 5 Dot Design. So Jillian said, I've been advised to publish a 10,000 word book ASAP to have her speaking engagements. What size book would you recommend, or does it matter? That's, you know, for 10,000 words only, I wouldn't go larger than 6x9. Yeah, because then you're going to be too skinny if you go larger. So I think a 6x9 size, Jillian, would be really good for that word count. How do we get your Bible studies? You can go to flourishgathering.com and we have a shop there and you can also go on Amazon. They are available on Amazon. We have a majority of them on stock, but I will say, okay, little plug, if you want a Heart Prepared, I only have a few left because they do come with, if you order directly through us. So here's a marketing strategy. Okay, for those that are still on, this is a gift for those that are still on. Oh, I don't think I have my bookmark. Okay, so this is a strategy we do to increase the profitability on our books. Okay, so one thing we do is we offer these scripture cards. You can offer a bookmark. We also have a bookmark, but I don't have one with me. Let me see. And so we created these really inexpensive little resources. One of them are these cards. Okay, so you might have to brainstorm a little bit depending on your book, but these cards cost us like $1, right? So this is like $1. Our bookmark's like 5 cents. So we have like $1.05 in extra cost to go with our book, but we can actually increase the price point of that book because it increases basically perceived value. People feel they're getting more for the book than if it was just the book alone. So this is one way that we've made, because margins on books are a little tight, guys. They're a little tight, right? So this, for example, was $8, $9. We're sharing all of our secrets for us to just print it for us. So what we do is we kind of have some little extras. We create videos as well. Some of you have bought our videos, and we charge, I think Heart Prepared has an audio series for $5. A lot of our other Bible studies have a video series for $10. That is how we help make the project more profitable and for our time. Okay, does that make sense? So there's some creative things you can do to kind of bump up that price or have a little add-on extra that goes with your book. Maybe it's a video course or something, right? To help that. So I don't know what question that jogged my memory, but so I was saying that's a great way. So that's a little bit of a marketing aside. Okay. So if I want to get my book into a library, do I need the free ISBN or paid one? That's a good question, Felicia. I'm not 100% sure. But with libraries, you can use print-on-demand publishers, and what you'll do is all of the print-on-demand publishers. I don't think it would matter, to be quite honest, whether it's the free or paid. But I'm not 1,000% sure. Okay, but what you do is you select expanded distribution. So basically, you now have your book at a wholesale price. Okay, and then you can sell to bookstores, Barnes and Noble. And some of the bookstores, they're kind of getting bigger on having indie published, you know, they call it indie publishing books. It's getting to be more mainstream. And that's the thing, the world of self-publishing is it's only going to get better for us, guys. It's only going to get better for us. It's only going to be more and more and more of a credible way of doing it. There's only going to be better resources out there for us and more resources. So the future is bright. And we're seeing big box stores and even Amazon really honing in and focusing on self-published books. It's the days of only having to traditionally publish are kind of gone. And so that's a good thing. So that's a good thing for us. So yes, you can absolutely do it. You basically, through the print on demand, you create what's called expanded distribution, which gives basically your book a wholesale price, and then bookstores and libraries can pick it up. Now, you still have to pitch it to them. And not all, you still have to pitch it to them, but that's how they have a different portal that they can go into, get that price, get that book at the wholesale pricing, if that makes sense. Okay. Granny Gian, hi. It's good to see you here. Said that she took the class and she highly recommends it. And she's watching this as a refresher. And I'm sure a lot of the questions I've answered have been helpful to you. So thank you for that testimonial on it. Rachel Dillon has been on Book Baby. Ooh, who's Rachel Dillon? Put us in touch with her. I want to speak to her. Oh, she's on Facebook and is an author of fiction. Okay, I'm going to write her name down. Thank you, Wanda. I want to reach out to someone on Book Baby. They're the one that I'm most curious about, if people have had a good experience with them. Okay. So like Sandra says, I'm going to answer 2 more questions. Sandra says, life is busy. I struggle getting to my writing. What is one thing you could say to me there, because I need a fire to get me motivated? Oh, okay. So I'm not going to say just one thing to you. I'm going to say 2 things to you. One is stay within community. Okay. So stay connected to Flourish Writers. We have a great community Facebook group. That's number 1. You need community. I think the writing journey can be lonely. And the other thing is, try and see if you can have some type of support network. And it doesn't even need to be like big, like 1 other person, 2 other people. And sometimes it could even be our husbands, a best friend. I think the aspect of community and I think the aspect of accountability is really, really important. So someone holding you accountable. And I'm going to tease, basically, we are in the process of creating something that you guys are going to find out about really, really soon that is to solve this problem. Because I do think that writers have like a lonely existence at times, and we desperately need community. We desperately need accountability. We desperately need guidance to achieve these goals. And so we have taken that very much to heart and are creating something specifically for that. So that's my 2 bits of advice. Okay. Kim says she's purchasing the course. Yes, I think we try to keep all of our resources very, very, very affordable because we want to get it in people's hands. And we create courses, guys, like I said, what I just said, that we're creating something. And I was just talking to Mindy today, and I was like, you know who our perfect person for this offer is? It's us 3 years ago. And so when we create something, it's because I don't think it's out there. And I also know that 3 years ago, we couldn't afford a lot of things. But we were committed, but we want to make them affordable so that it can get into people's hands. Because a lot of times, if you're just starting out, it's hard for you to invest in certain things. And we understand that. It was hard for us to invest in things. And we don't want that to get in your way. So we can't make them free. We can't make everything free, right? Or we wouldn't be here right now if everything was free. But then we also don't want to just price things like out of the stratosphere where nobody can afford it. Alicia says how to offer additional content to bump up the profit. Yes, that was a gold. Maybe you know what? We need to do something in the future more specifically about how there are so many strategies that we use, not just for books, but for some of our other things that help bump up profitability. And they're just little itty bitty things. And it's amazing how even something that's $5 can just really make the whole thing actually worth doing. So sometimes it's thinking outside that product and adding something complementary to it. And that's actually what makes it sometimes what makes it an actual profitable project. From start to finish, with an editor cover design, would say the total cost is before you self-publish. Okay, so I'm going to end with this question with regards to cost. Because, and again, there's a wide range here. So I'm going to share what our cost has been. We normally spend about $500 to self-publish one of our books, one of our Bible studies. That's normally our minimum. Yeah, I think that's like our minimum. We have spent upwards of about $800. However, we do not use a copy editor, and it can be more expensive to use a copy editor, especially if you're writing fiction, right? There's a lot more words. But again, okay, so if you're writing a fiction book that you want to self-publish, it could be upwards of $1,000, $1,500, $2,000 if you need to hire a copy editor. So a copy editor is going to go line by line and check for grammar and punctuation and all those things. However, again, it depends on your goals, on your financial goals. That might be important. So, but here's my thing. So I think you can self-publish from $0, I don't recommend it, to anywhere upwards of $3,000, $4,000, okay, depending on the project. If you start getting into the over 5,000 range, I don't think it's as necessary, to be quite honest. And maybe it is, but like it would be very specific to that project. Like maybe it's something that you're doing for your business and you're investing a lot more money into it because you know it's going to have a bigger return. So I don't think, as the majority of us with our projects, should not be getting anywhere over $3,000. And so what we spend is anywhere from $500 to $800 to self-publish our books. Somebody asked, is there a company that converts a PDF to text, so like a Word document? Yeah, so if you actually buy a paid version of Adobe, so it's Adobe Acrobat, right? And it's not very expensive to have Adobe, like the paid version of Adobe. A lot of us have Adobe Reader where we can read PDFs. But if you buy Adobe, you can convert any PDF into a Word document. And I think, I don't know, I want to say it's like $50, $60 to buy Adobe, but it lets you do a lot more. That's not the only thing you can do. Okay, so I think that is everything. Andrea says, thank you so much for this seminar. Look, it ended up being 2 hours. I just wanted to make sure that I gave lots of time for questions. If you have questions, you can email us. I'm going to put our email there again. .com. Feel free to email us. If you have specific questions about the How to Self-Publish Your Book Masterclass course, feel free to email us. Again, the $5 coupon code, the coupon code is Workshop Live all together, and that gets you $5 just today only until 11:59 p.m. Eastern. And you get $5 either package, but the course itself you can purchase at any time after today as well. And the replay is going to be available. I will send an email out tomorrow with the replay, and you can definitely watch that. So I do hope that this was super helpful. It sounds like it was helpful. I'm glad you were all on this Saturday morning or afternoon or evening, wherever you are tuning in from. And again, we're here to support you. So please go over, be sure if you're not a part of our Flourish Writers community on Facebook, join that group. It is hopping over there with great encouragement, great questions are being asked, and it's also a way for you to stay in touch with what's happening. And then also be sure that you're on our email list, because that's how you find out about what we have going on for free and some of our paid offerings. And we have an incredible offering coming up pretty soon that we're working hard behind the scenes for, that it might be a good fit for you. It might not be a good fit for you, but it may be. So anywho, thank you again for spending your morning or afternoon with us. So be blessed, And thank you again for being a part. All right. Bye, ladies.